you might be thinking, should I do bankruptcy or should I do debt consolidation? So here's what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you kind of the textbook answer, and I'm going to tell you my own thoughts on the matter, okay? The textbook answer is debt consolidation is working directly with creditors, typically through a third party, who goes to those creditors and says, all right, we got a pool of money here, and we can only give so much to everybody, okay? That's the essence of debt consolidation. Sometimes they give you a new loan, and other times they don't, and they're just saying, pay into this big pot, and then we'll pay all your creditors for you, okay? My personal opinion, I don't like it, okay? I don't. And here's why. Number one, you can do the same thing yourself. You can reach out to those creditors, because using that third party does not give you any power or leverage with those other companies or those creditors, even if they tell you otherwise. I don't care what they have to say. Bottom line is they don't have any special influence. And here's the other thing you got to be really careful of. A lot of times, those third parties are actually the collection arm of the creditors, or one of the creditors, or a lot of the creditors. Okay? Sometimes they're in bed with the enemy, and they just don't quite represent it to you that way. So what you're really doing is you feel like you've got this advocate, but you really don't. Okay? I just look at it this way. I always make my decisions based on risk, right? Risk versus reward. And here's the bottom line with debt consolidation versus bankruptcy. Debt consolidation, you get all the downside of a bankruptcy because it affects your credit exactly the same way as doing a Chapter 13 bankruptcy. And if you hear otherwise from these other creditor or these third parties that do these, why do you think they're telling you that? Because they want you to choose what it is they sell, okay? But here's the bottom line. When you go into those arrangements with your creditors, they report to your credit or to the credit bureaus that you're in an arrangement where you're paying differently than what you agreed to originally, okay? That's the same thing. That impacts your credit score the same way that a Chapter 13 does. But you don't have any of the protection that the bankruptcy gives you through the law. Your creditors, at any point for whatever reason, they can change their mind and say, we're not going to do that anymore, or we're not going to accept those terms anymore. You're not protected in those plans. So if you do happen to go into one of them, it would be a good idea to complete them as quickly as you possibly can, because you don't have any guarantees and you're not protected. Any one of those creditors, for example, could decide, you know what, this isn't working, so we're just going to go ahead and sue you anyways and go get a judgment and then garnish your wages. That's entirely possible, not under a bankruptcy. They're stayed from doing that. There's an invisible legal wall in place that stops them from doing anything like that. And so, you're not going to have the same problems. So all the downside, none of the upside that you get with a bankruptcy in debt consolidation. So that's my opinion. Certainly there's other people that have their opinions, but I hope I've made a fairly convincing argument to help you understand why I think the way I do. And hopefully that helps you make a decision.